Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's meetup. A few weeks ago, we released a white paper about the evolving MVNO landscape, and we've been posting some insights on LinkedIn and all of that. And today, to kind of top it all off, Matt, our partner, is leading today's discussion on exactly that, AI in the MVNO industry and space at the moment. And he is joined by Louis Blom, the Divisional CEO. And together in their discussion, they're going to discuss kind of how artificial intelligence is transforming every aspect of the MVNO landscape. The session is being recorded, and you can view the recording on our YouTube channel sometime next week. I will also drop the link to the white paper to download it for everyone here so they can get those insights as well. Thank you so much. Matt, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be back here and chatting to all of you again. It's mostly see familiar faces. I'm very excited to have Louis join me today. I'm going to introduce Louis slightly differently today because Louis and I go back quite a while. Louis likes to do difficult things in his life. He was involved in Standard Bank's first internet banking build, bringing internet banking onto the continent. And then later in his life, he got to meet me when I was running a software dev house that was very known for, bringing agile practices to the world. So together we rewrote internet banking at Standard Bank and introduced agile at the same time. Really not scared of taking on tough tasks. I mean, Standard Bank is the oldest bank on the continent, and rewriting the online banking platform and introducing agile, mammoth task. And the only way Louis and I were ever going to land up after a project like that, we were either going to be great mates or great enemies. And luckily, we ended up really great mates. We went to his wedding. We played golf together. If he says anything bad about me, it's not true. Thanks, Louis, so much for joining us. I'm so excited that we get to talk about MVNO because from an ecosystem and Exidian point of view, two of our favorite clients are banking and telco. And now we're putting them together, and we're really going to get a real understanding. You've been involved in this space for quite a while. Obviously, Standard Bank's not the first to bring the telco service into their banking clients, but really an exciting space for you guys to be in. Welcome and thanks for joining the session.
Thanks, Matt.
So let's start. What's behind the idea of Standard Bank's MVNO, Standard Bank Connect? What's the idea behind Standard Bank creating a telco or MVNO?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, it was a strange journey for Standard Bank. Bank toyed with the idea in about 2015, but just never pulled the trigger on it. Then in 2018, when one of our competitors started to show great results in the MVNO, FNB, Standard Bank said it is the right time to do it. There's this convergence that's happening. If you look at a lot of the MVNOs like MTN, they got Momo money. Vodacom has got their own e-Vodacom system for money. So there's this convergence. Banks can either do one of two things. They can just be banks, or they can look at adding additional services to their portfolio. Your cell phone, whether it's for money or for communication, is the one thing that everybody has all the time. I think no one goes anywhere without looking first, where's my cell phone? Then secondly, you look, where's your car keys? I think we're all just so attached to this device. So that was the one thing. And then we also looked and said, right, is there a way that we could actually use the telco space to add value-added services to our customers? Because for those that know an MVNO, an MVNO is very difficult for an MVNO to compete against an MNO. I always use the analogy. You can't go and buy wholesale food at Macro and then compete with Macro. It's just because I can't buy wholesale from MTN and then compete with price, because the manufacturer of the goods will always be able to outprice me in the market. But a bank sits in a unique position whereby we have a lot of services and products that a telco does not have. So we have your credit cards, home loans, current accounts, savings accounts, offshore accounts, all of these value-added services, which we look at bundling into it. And we've done that quite successfully within Standard Bank, whereby you get certain amount of data for all the amount you spend on your credit card. In our rewards program, as you move up the tiers, you get free data. Everyone just loves data. But that was the value proposition we looked at. We've been running as a MVNO for the last 6 years. So we've just recently rebranded. We used to be called Standard Bank Mobile, but everyone got confused. So we decided to follow suit and call it Standard Bank Connect because of FNB. It made the word connect quite synonymous.
Okay, cool. I'm a Standard Bank customer, so I get very excited when I hear that the bank's doing cool things with technology, bringing services together. It's that whole sort of platform play. It allows customers to have more choice, to leverage loyalty. Like you said, you're already using UCount and other products to reward customers. From a business point of view, we're in the business of helping clients transform the way that they deal with their customers. So how are you working with your current clients and trying to get them on board with Standard Bank Connect? Are you also trying to do that externally with our Standard Bank clients, or is it a Standard Bank client offering?
If you look at it now, I mean, there's no need for Standard Bank. In South Africa, we've got 10 million customers as a Standard Bank. So I don't need to start looking externally. I think we've got enough customers. If we just put 20% of those customers on the MVNO, this thing starts printing a lot of money for the bank. We are only focusing on Standard Bank customers because we want to be able to offer them not just the telco services, but also it's integrated. Like our CEO says, we want to be a platform business. We don't want to be a shop in the mall. We want to own the mall.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's really how we are approaching a lot of the products that we sell. We're not trying to sell you only a vehicle. We're trying to sell you a vehicle and insurance, a vehicle, insurance, and a connect so that you can connect your car with that as well. We're also looking at services next year whereby when you get a home loan, we'll automatically have fiber to your home because we know you bought a home. We financed the home, so we know exactly where it is and what you require at your house.
So let's talk a little bit about the journey. You said you joined the telco journey a little bit later. It was planned for earlier. You then sat up and said, hold on a second, we're being edged here. Let's get involved. Talk to me about some of your major challenges when launching and scaling Standard Bank Connect.
So for my sins in my previous life, I did a startup in Bahrain in the Middle East where we did a virtual mobile bank. Now, in a bank, for anybody that I'm not too sure who works in banks here, but banks are traditionally very risk averse and they are very much governed by lots of compliance and regulations, where a telco operates slightly different with different regulations. So one is a banking regulation, the other one's ICASA. And for us as a MVNO to try and navigate within a bank and explain to them that, you know, the way we open accounts or mobile accounts is different to the way you open a bank account. The regulations aren't exactly the same. People just see a mobile account as an account and think it's the same thing as a current account or a savings account. So it was quite an interesting journey to try and bring people along to this. Matt knows me, I'm quite a bit of a rebel, and that's how Matt and I met because I decided to do Agile in a bank that loved waterfall. When we started this journey, I looked at an external partner to give us the services versus building. That allowed me to work pretty much outside of a lot of the bank's work. I went cloud first. So we've been in AWS long before most people were in the cloud. I felt that trying to put infrastructure in like some of my other competitors have done is very costly and very time consuming. So we went cloud native and built it that way. The bank has taken a lot of what we built for the MVNO as standards when they started to roll out cloud. So regulation-wise and bringing a bank on board, it's still to this day still a challenge because the bank still sees itself as a bank. But it is a journey that we've taken them along.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that a typical telco has. Telcos obviously deal with a lot of support and challenges around customers calling them and things not working. Getting a cell phone up and working today seems a lot easier because we know how to do that, but not everyone is cell phone literate. And how do you deal with those sorts of issues being a bank? Now you're dealing with technical telco type issues.
I think a bank still operates traditionally 9 to 5, and most of the call centers will go much later. But a telco is a 24/7. You know, As long as your credit card's working, you're fine. But a cell phone, we have to be online all the time. People make calls. If it doesn't work, they need to be able to get through. And it's a big problem. As I said earlier, first thing you reach for is your cell phone. It was a big journey to get the bank to understand that this thing has to be operational 24/7, 365. You can't be down a minute. As a banker, you've got alternative. If your credit card doesn't work, you can use your debit card. If your internet doesn't work, you can use your app. But your cell phone has to be going all the time. That's also the reason we chose a cloud approach. It's just so much easier to manage than having infrastructure and data centers that people have to operate from. So it was a mind shift for the bank that now they've got this operation in the middle of them where we can't call you tomorrow, we have to call you now.
Yeah. My biggest panic, because we've combined the cell phone and the bank together and I don't carry a wallet anymore, is my battery running flat and then I don't have my cards. And the two worlds merging makes a lot of sense. And I suppose that brings me to the idea of the beauty of that sort of bridge is probably the data, right? Is brings these sort of two industries together really, really nicely. You know, the telco and the telecom usage data combining with the banking behavior. I would imagine you starting a much richer view of your customer. Tell me a little bit about how you guys are setting that up or how you are layering your data from that point of view and how you're leveraging it.
So in the early days when we first started this, prior to POPIA, and that becoming a little bit more stringent on data and privacy, cell phone companies have far more rich data than banks do. So a bank knows when you've used your credit card, when you've used your debit card. Cell phone companies know where you are, what sites you go to. They may not be able to see the data, but I know when you're on Facebook, I know when you're on Instagram, and banks don't have that. Now, if I know you're in a mall because I can see your location through various towers, I know your location. We all have location settings on our cell phones. Now, if you took that and you combined it with the data that a bank has in terms of, okay, I see you in a mall. Do you have credit? Can I offer you credit because I know you're going shopping? Those are the type of data that the banks want. Now, the challenge has always been that the cell phone companies have been very guarded on that data because that is their bread and butter. So it has been quite a challenge. Not all the cell phone companies' infrastructure keeps packet inspection, because that's the layer that you have to work on. And the amount of data, for those that do understand mobile, it's a lot of data. When you look at your call directories information, your CDRs, it's thousands of records for every single time you pick up your phone because it's used for billing, it's used for a whole lot of stuff. So that data we ingested into the bank. So we understand when you're most likely using your phone, when do you use it for top-ups. We use data in terms of targeting who we want to actually offer a connect product to. I then take the bank's data and I look at when do you, like through your mobile app or through internet banking, which service providers you actually buy airtime from or where you've got your debit orders from. We have it quite a rich, and we take the two and we're trying to use those two to offer better products and to also offer customers the opportunity to move from MTN, Vodacom. The Cell C one is not a very difficult one to sell. Most people are a little bit annoyed with Cell C's connectivity, but they have got better since they're roaming on the other networks. So we use that data a lot. Combining the two is quite a rich set of data to have. That's what we're busy with at the moment. We've started building those models to see how we best service customers through what we know where you are when you use your phone, and from a banking perspective, what insights can we gather from that. It's quite an intensive exercise, and I think that leads us into a lot of the other stuff that we'll get into later in the conversation.
Oh, absolutely. We talk a lot around data as a good foundation for AI. Let's head in that direction now. Let's start thinking about, I know that you have started a journey with AI. When you look at the full MVNO value chain, acquisition, onboarding, retention, operations, and revenue optimization, AI can impact all of those. Where are you focusing on? Where are you thinking about using AI to create the biggest impact?
So we're looking at one of the other questions that always comes up is, AI is a buzzword that everybody's looking at. There's like a gazillion POCs within the bank at the moment, and everybody is looking at it in different flavors. everything from can I make my calendar work better? Can I simplify my emails and aggregate those? So there's a lot of those little things in Copilot. But from an MVNO, we've looked at it in quite a few categories. The first one is because I've got to keep my costs down. Costs are a big flavor at the moment. From a call center point of view, we've got a rudimentary AI bot that we do when people call in to try and eliminate some of the calls. For anyone that runs a call center, you don't want a lot of calls. And if you do get a lot of calls, you want to be able to service calls without people, because people are your biggest costs within a call center. So we've got an AI agent that answers most customers' calls, because generally in a telco space, it's very much the similar type of calls. I can't make a call. Yeah. My data's not working. Is it your AP settings? Here's a thing. Go here, check these settings. So we're trying to eliminate some of those calls by giving people the basics that we can give them from a call. We also use the AI in the call center to analyze what are the traditional trends that we're seeing in terms of calls. And where we're using it quite a lot is in the dispositions after a call. From a call center perspective, it takes anything from 30 seconds to a minute to actually wrap up a call post a customer leaving your call. And that prohibits you taking another call in that time. Then you get what's called queue lengths. Queue lengths ends up having frustrations. We've all been on those calls where you hear that elevator music going on and on. Nothing irritates you more than that. So you try and get that the calls are answered as quick as possible. And one way to do that is to eliminate the agent having to do a call disposition post the call, so that we actually wrap up the call automatically in the background, because we can listen to what the call was about, the characteristics of the call, and we can actually just push it into the background. So that's where the one thing that we're doing. What we also try to do is actually look at saying, what are the ideal customers, okay, that would want to take up a DataBank Connect product? And that's where we're using a lot of the data within the bank already, where we can see customers that purchase a lot of airtime, saying, can we offer them products in Connect? We're also using it for analyzing when most would actually top up. Okay, so once a customer's been on there for a while, we know their behavior. We know that a customer generally, their data lasts so long. So instead of them actually going and purchasing, we actually preempt it and offer them a top up at a certain time. So we say, we know that you're normally about to top up. Can we do it automatically? Do you want to do this on a regular basis? And then we say to them, okay, when you get to 85%, do you want us to automatically top you up? And started building those models into that. We automatically top the customer up and we maximize it at 2 times. Unfortunately, some people offer DataBank Connect to their children, and automatic top-ups could bankrupt parents, so we try and avoid that. So that's where we're using it from. Also, in terms of revenue, in our revenue assurance, the side of the business, we try and look to see when we would actually eliminate churn. Churn in a mobile space is the one thing you have to manage quite carefully, because as any business, acquisition is expensive, trying to reduce your churn. In South Africa's mobile business, we get churn and what we call selective use of SIMs, especially since WhatsApp gives you that option. Doesn't matter how many times you change your SIM, your WhatsApp always stays the same. So people play the game of, okay, this service provider gives me R5 free at this time of the month, so then they put that SIM in. Then 10 days later, okay, Vodacom has given me 10 gigs, free. They swap the SIM, because all they're doing is they're just managing that their WhatsApp is always on. Yeah. Because most of us, I don't know how often most people physically phone people nowadays. You literally now do WhatsApp calls as well. So I think that's where we're seeing that a lot. And then where we're also pushing hard now is that I only have so many people that I can employ, because I have a budget that is capped. And one thing that we are pushing hard at the moment is AI in our development space. That's where we can add a lot of value to our business, because if I can add more products and services to the MVNO at the same cost, the revenue pushes up, but my costs stay flat. So we are pushing hard in terms of our development space, from business analyst, development, testing, and infrastructure. We're pushing a lot of AI because we're on Amazon. Our developers are busy using Amazon Q with Claude to look at error handling. The developer pushes code up, gets errors. We push it through through Amazon Q and Claude and say, right, where are the errors? We use that. Once a month, we also take a lot of our code, push it in there, and we say, right, how do I actually do technical debt and optimize this? And then to actually reduce the footprint of our code. So
That's cool.
the spaces that we're using AI, some of it is in, I don't like to use the word POC because I push away from POC. I like to use the POV for value. If somebody comes to me and says, can I do this? If the thing doesn't reduce costs, increase revenue straight away, I don't need AI to do data analysis. We've been doing data analysis with machine learning and a whole lot of tools for a long time. Where does the AI that we test add value? Can I see value on the book straight away?
100%. I'm glad you mentioned proof of concept. We're actually going to head that way soon. I saw one or two questions. Ben, let's manage those.
Ben asked me, hey, if they're terrible questions, I'm going to just pretend I couldn't hear them.
Sabah has dropped his question in the chat, but I'm not sure. Sabah, would you like me to read it or would you ask it? I'll go ahead. Okay, so Sabah asked, what's the future of MVNOs competing with eSIMs? What's the difference between the MVNO versus the eSIM in financial services?
All right, so I'm busy doing the eSIM development as we speak. So Standard Bank MVNO will have an eSIM before the end of the year. All operators will have got eSIM. eSIM is great because I don't have to get a physical SIM card to you. It's not a competitive advantage because not all mobile phones are eSIM capable. You get to a certain price range upwards, then those are eSIM capable. In South Africa, we still have a lot of cheap phones that aren't eSIM enabled, which necessitates that we have to push out physical SIMs to customers. The one advantage just in terms of that I have over MNOs, I've got 600 branches, MTN, Vodacom, and Cell C. If you combine all their branches, they don't have that many branches. My distribution point in terms of delivering SIM cards is quite good. eSIM is definitely the way to go.
Any other questions?
No, those were the only few.
In the financial industry, that's very important, especially when you travel and accessibility on your mobile app for financial payment. Yeah,
it is something that we're looking at. I'm part of a Friends of the Program. We've got a travel app that's part of our banking app. In that travel app, you'll be able to take up an international eSIM when you travel. They are difficult to manage because you've got to link up with worldwide aggregators that will sell you wholesale data for wherever you're traveling. It's pointless developing all of those links in all those countries because that's what those relationships in all the different MNOs all over the place is very difficult and very costly. So we partner with people that have already done the hard work for that.
Cool. Nice. Are there no other questions from the audience? Let's head into what I call POC Valley. So, I mean, we as a business and with ecosystem, we get involved in them. We understand there's certain ways in which clients, especially when we head into improving AI, and I'm so glad you said the word proof of value because these concepts are proven. Machine learning is a proven concept. Behavioral science with machine learning is a proven concept. Real-time machine learning is a proven concept. But we often land up with clients, and maybe it's I don't know you, I don't trust you, or I don't know the technology. It doesn't say Microsoft all over it. Come and do a proof of concept. Microsoft and AWS throw lots of money at proof of concepts. It's not necessarily a trust issue on the brand. It seems to be a trust issue on the technology. Where do you think around, and I'm glad you said you're not into POCs because we're not either. We just have to do them to show people how cool and how good we are at doing the stuff we do. And so where do you think the worry and the concern is? Like you said, at Standard Bank there, if you're a POC salesman, anyone on this call who's a POC salesman, go to the banks, you can sell POCs. I've kind of avoided that. But somebody said, Standard Bank's got loads of money to buy POCs. I said, I don't sell POCs. I sell capability. If they want capability and I have to do a POC to prove that capability, great. If I'm selling you a POC for the sake of selling a POC, that's way too disruptive for our business model to go and just POC everything. Where do you stand with the whole POC, POV story?
I'm not a big fan of it because I think there's a big difference between you're coming there to sell one of the products. For me, the process must be, what is the pain point you're actually trying to solve? Okay. I think that is the part that most of the vendors don't get is, okay, you come to a bank and you're trying to sell some AI thing. Do you know if I need that or not? Is it something that will make a difference? I think for the next 12 months to 18 months, if we don't understand how the data is put together, how we're actually training the data, what data is actually required for this POC, I think we're going to be, I think most of them are going to fail. Yeah. Because if I look at Standard Bank, I mean, we have got, because we've got so much data. We've got a data lake. That doesn't mean it's well-structured data. It's probably like everybody else. It's stuff that people just put there. And then somebody says, import the stuff, and it's everybody's got a little bit of the same data all over the place. So if you're going to make a difference, it's around what is the problem that we're trying to solve. Okay. If you come there and say, well, I can make your next best action work better. I've already got the dashboard for that. I produce those stats every single day. We've got 600 branches. When all those consultants come to the branch in the morning, the first thing they open up is an next action dashboard so that they can see, right, when the customers come in, what is the next best action that I should be offering them? That stuff's already there. So the question is, how will AI make a difference to what we already do? Okay. A lot of the people are using it from a financial. So I look after, besides Connect, I look after a few businesses. One of the businesses I look after is our wealth and investment portfolio, the same as the customers that bank at RMB and Investec type of portfolio. Yeah. And those RMs that go out, that see customers, their biggest challenge is I get a income statement and a balance sheet from a customer. How do I take that and do an analysis of that customer without doing the old-fashioned way, working out a whole lot of ratios? How do I build a portfolio that automatically analyzes a customer's entire portfolio, where they've got money all over the world, and then actually does something that the relationship manager can use to provide a solution to the customer? Nice. I think that's why we have so many of these things. We've got 60 divisions. Every division is running 2 or 3 different little proof of concepts internally, both from an employee to a customer. So I think what's missing is, what are you trying to solve? Where is the pain points? And I think if you can understand where banks suffer the most and actually come to the bank with that solution, your solutions will be better.
Spot on. We do try to build and solve outcomes. We also want to build capability, and often we run into the data challenge. The biggest problem with AI is people think because of what they get out of ChatGPT, AI is so quick that you'll do a proof of concept and the success criteria, all of a sudden, we want you to cross-sell, increase our sales conversion by 10% for month 1, 20% month 2. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Number one, it's not a sales cannon. It needs time to understand the data, get the insights, understand the behaviors, and then learn. And it only really starts doing well once it's done that. The biggest challenge is, oh no, it's AI, it's fast, and it can do all this stuff. You told me it can upsell, it can cross-sell. It will retain our customers. So prove it.
Matt, I think you're 100% right, because everyone goes to ChatGPT and says, and asks a question, okay, what's the best color dog to have? And 2 seconds later, it comes back from all this data that's been fed and trained on and says, here's the answer. Yeah. So they think that, okay, when I plug in financial services to ChatGPT, it's going to know all the answers. I think it's the same thing that I always used to tell people. We were once walking past a data center when we were visiting Nigeria, and one of the business people said, look at this. This is old-fashioned. You should be in the cloud. And I said, do you know what the cloud is? When you see that data center, I put a smoke machine into that data center. It looks like the cloud. That's the cloud. They have the same concept around AI, that it's just that I can just take ChatGPT and it will answer all my banking answers. But they don't understand that ChatGPT has been trained on millions of data. The same thing has to happen. You have to take your banking data, you have to build models, you have to train it. That takes time. Most organizations don't have the funding that OpenAI has or Grok has in terms of gazillion engineers that can now train data. So I think it's around making people understand that, okay, what data have you got? And right, how is that data structured? Is it structured, unstructured? How will we use the data? Once you've got the data in, how do you build agents and models that actually can take that data, take external data and internal data, and come out with the correct answer?
Yeah.
Because as we know, I've asked ChatGPT the same question 3 times in a row, I'll get 3 different answers, because we still have that slight bit of hallucination with many of these models.
100%. I think also, one of the things, and often for banks and large businesses, you guys have come from the world of owning and looking after your technology. A lot of clients build and they're very happy. But now in the world of AI, the maintain part of the build is a lot of work. As a bank, maintaining a banking system is one thing, but maintaining a learning intelligence system is far different. I would imagine it would make a lot more sense to work with vendors that focus very heavily on making sure that the technology that's built is up to date, the models are right and fit for use, and is continually delivering and scaling correctly for you guys.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's important. I think also the assumption when you look at a bank, and especially if you look at technical people, that every IT guy is using AI is the wrong assumption. I've got a couple of portfolios that I look after, and we're trying to move Amazon Q to another portfolio. I asked the developers, how many of you are using it not to give you the answer, but to augment the work that you've done already? And very few are. Because I think technical people, many of them still fear that, okay, I better not use this because just now the bank doesn't need me. Okay. So I think there's still a lot of education around how do you actually take it and make it part of your journey, and that people don't feel it's going to take away their jobs. You will get a lot of resistance, especially in the beginning, until somebody is promoting this. I see it right now. We're getting a lot of resistance within the organization to use AI. So it's building that business case that says, okay, because everyone watches YouTube, and then you watch Sam Altman saying, okay, hold on, within the next 2 years, we're going to have 30% of the workforce in every company. But in reality, when I look at a bank like Standard Bank, because it's so fragmented, I'd be shocked if in 5 years we've made AI work seamlessly everywhere. It's the same as it's taken us 5 years to migrate from a data center to the cloud. There's a difference between the old infrastructure guy and a DevOps guy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of training, a lot of education that still has to happen on the way through this journey. I think that's what I would also recommend as companies think through the educational part as well.
Yeah, 100%. I did see a question pop up. Madison, you want to jump on that?
Yes, so this is a question from Prasad. He says, are you using / planning to use retrieval augmented generation to combine LLM language capabilities for Standard Bank specific dynamic information retrieval internally for staff and for customers?
I'm going to be straightforward. I've got no clue what you just said.
It is in the chat. It is quite a technical question.
I looked at this and I'm like, all right, can I quickly copy paste this into ChatGPT and say, tell me what the hell this means? So I don't know if we're using everything, but I can tell you now within my area, ours is still very much in the infancy stage. This would definitely be at the more advanced stage of the AI journey, and on the way that we do data and structure it in terms of the language models used.
Yeah, I can also jump on a little bit from the areas that we're chatting to around the bank. There certainly is, there are pockets of it. I think there's a lot of interest in starting to use frameworks for things like onboarding and trying to understand and help customers go through processes. There's certainly desire around helping with things like KYC and using LLM and RAG for those sorts of things. I haven't seen it really like any big, I've seen a few proof of concepts, and there's certainly conversations with some of the guys in the MVNO space. DataBank is fairly in its infancy. Maybe in the AI sense of excellence, they've got some more maturity around it, but we certainly haven't tapped into it.
Thanks for that, Matthew. Thank you, Louis. Yeah.
Any other questions? Because I'm going to start heading towards my last question section for Louis. Any other questions from the audience to Louis or myself around the subject?
Just joking.
There's nothing in the chat so far, but if anyone wants to ask a question now, please feel free.
Jay's asked the question, what's the role of CVM in your business, Louis?
We try, and I'm assuming it's customer value management. The acronyms could be various different things. So I'm just validating that, Jay. Okay. So it's a big thing for us. Okay. So especially in the MVNO space, because ARPU is one of the things that we measure all the time. How do I get the most out of a customer? The higher the ARPU, the better for us. That's why we try and not do prepaid products to a large extent, because the difference between a prepaid product and a contract product, the ARPU on a prepaid product is like 30 Rand, and a contract ARPU is anything from 80 to 150. So it means that you have less customers. So, and that's where we are trying to push in the AI to know when you're going to spend and how you're going to spend, and what is the lifespan of a customer. If you look at a prepaid product, you're looking at anything from 3 to 6 months only. How do I get you on there for 9 months? That changes my revenue model completely.
The thing about CVM that we've seen is that they try to shape some stories around novelty. They're trying to create these alternative product sets that are priced differently and create the perception of being more for less to drive, some kind of retention or upsell. And especially if you look at the OTT services, if you want to sell alongside it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Jay. So you keep breaking, so I'm never sure when you finish there. Sorry, man. Okay. So if you look at what we try to do different than MNO, if you go to MTN or Vodacom right now, they're still stuck in a 20-year model, which is 2-year contract. Even now, sometimes pushing for the 36-month contracts because they're trying to extend, give you a higher grade phone and spread the payments over 36 months. What we've done is we've separated, because we're a bank, we've separated your device purchase from your contract. Okay, so we do the month to month. You can change your value proposition. If this month you want 3 gigs, but next month you want 7 gigs and you want a product for 7 gigs, you can change it every single month. Where if you are on MTN, once you're in for that 24 months, you're in for that 24 months. So what we do is finance your device, and then we give you the flexibility around your month to month. And that's where we feel is the value that we add in, is that you're not locked in. If you want to cancel your connect, you can cancel your connect, but you'll still owe us for the device, because we do financing as our bread and butter. So that's where we try and add a different value proposition and the value management of customers, offering them something different to what the standard MNOs offer.
Because I think it does complicate your variable pricing model, because your cost of purchase is not just a single calculation across your total portfolio. It's spread across multiple service lines, as well as in the physical product. But it does give you flexibility that you can play with what you can offer in variations. So your dynamic kind of criteria for pricing and for offers, you can expand it quite significantly if you have enough.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why you'll see that we split the two. If I'm at a price over 24 months, I'm not getting anything out of you other than that for 24 months. But if I split the two, I can push you to a higher product on a regular basis this side, because the device, I'm paying $3.99 for the device. That's it.
That's it. Yes.
Forget about that. Now let's see how do I make you spend more money on airtime, data, and a whole lot of other products without locking you in, feeling that you're a prisoner. Because if you can constantly change, you don't feel our research shows you don't change down, change up. Because we all want more.
No, I get that. I'm deeply interested in that subject around how do you determine the equilibrium of how a person would decide that they want more freedom, and the moment they shift down, they shift up again, and it creates this constant wave of behaviors. Certain clusters will have this highly consistent and very predictable, and others would have it's very sporadic. So it's almost like it does complicate your pricing strategy a little bit, because if you can have profit maximization across the board based on your customer lifetime value, and something that keeps adjusting itself dynamically, that's the best place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, you're 100% right. I happened to play with your agent this afternoon in preparation for this. I thought, let me give this thing a bit of a test drive. I came up with some great answers. I must give you this. A great agent. Okay.
Oh, really?
So definitely we'll reach out and have a chat to you, because from a technology point of view, DataBank is still split. I do all the technology, but the business guy thinks that he's clever and he's going to do that. So we'll put you in front of that process.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Excellent.
Thanks, Jay. I think let's wrap up now. I really appreciate this time, Louis, and I think it's been a great talk. I really appreciate it. And I always wrap up with this narrative. We've got a bunch of tech and business leaders on the call, for CIOs, data leaders, product executives, what sort of advice would you give or would you share about launching or scaling AI-driven business like an MVNO?
I think because an MVNO is there's no difference from MVNO to MNO.
Yeah.
Only difference is I don't have to worry about my towers. AI can be inserted into multiple areas, from network optimization to revenue assurance to customer acquisition to retention strategies. I think for me still is, right, where is that value? Where's that business? Because like for myself and Capitec, we've got different strategies. Okay, they're on a prepaid model. We are on a hybrid model. We do devices and that stuff. They don't. The biggest challenge at Standard Bank is acquisition. Okay, network optimization. I don't have to worry about that. That's end-to-end and Cellc's problems. But for me, it's around the acquisition. How do I use AI to understand which are the right customers to do personalized targeting? Because marketing it's a spray and pray. But if I can do personalized marketing to you one-on-one using AI, saying, hi, Louis, we know that you are on a 299 Rand package. Why don't we just do the following bolt on and we'll give you dynamic pricing for this, and this services. And boom, I click yes and it's done. That it takes it from what the customer wants, it plugs it into the back end, and I do a seamless front to back once the customer says yes.
Yeah, you're speaking our language. You're absolutely speaking I didn't tee that up, guys. I promise you, you are absolutely speaking our language. And
you told me you're taking me to River Club next week.
Well, you are coming for dinner with us.
It's going to be the 300-gram fillet.
Thanks so much, Louis. And thanks to the audience and everyone that joined. The questions, tricky or not, we really appreciate it. I'm going to hand over to Madison. Thanks again, Louis, and thanks everyone. It was a great session.